Okay. Sola Scritpura or tradition. Sola Scritpura is the Protestant view, and tradition is the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox view. So first, Sola Scritpura, the Protestant view, says that Scripture alone is the final infallible authority for Christian faith and practice. Church traditions, councils, and teachers may be helpful and authoritative in a secondary sense, but they are subject to the correction by Scripture. Sounds great if you actually do it. Tradition, which is the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox view, teaches that divine revelation is transmitted through both Scripture and sacred tradition. The Church, as the guardian and interpreter of that apostolic deposit, possesses authority to authentically interpret both Scripture and tradition. Scripture is supreme as God's written word, but it is not the only infallible source of apostolic teaching. In its simplest form, Sola Scritpura, the Church is governed by Scripture, and tradition, Scripture is interpreted within and under the authority of the apostolic tradition preserved by the Church. Or put another way, Protestantism teaches that tradition must be proven from Scripture. The Catholic and Orthodox churches teach that Scripture is part of the larger apostolic tradition from which it came.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so on X, a obvious Eastern Orthodox attendee put this post up affirming against a Protestant who was affirming the doctrine of Sola Scritpura. Essentially, Anthony states, you affirming we don't have a closed canon actually affirms the traditional position that the Church isn't built on a quote-unquote list of books or the Bible itself. Thank you for proving the obvious fact books and manuscripts don't self-authenticate themselves. All right, so in the Didache-The 11:8, it says, but not all who are speaking in the Spirit is a prophet, but if he has the ways of the Lord. Therefore, the false prophet and the prophet will be known for the ways of the Lord. So that's, shorthand for the early church to say that if a prophet came and claimed he had a prophecy, but he didn't teach that you had to follow and obey the teachings of Jesus, such as love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, do not retaliate when violence is done to you, common goods, then they were not a real prophet. And so the Eastern Orthodox Church wants to promulgate this idea of their superior doctrine of traditions over Sola Scritpura. But when you get down to the specifics, what happened to that part of the early church traditions found in the Didache, a very early church document? Essentially, what this brings about is a very basic and fundamental idea in 1 John 2:3, in the epistle of 1 John, where John says, and by this we know that we have come to know him, or abide in him, if we keep his commandments. So, interpreting history through that prism, just how important does that verse become in attesting, a true prophet and a false prophet, when in later centuries, a few centuries forward from John's passage and the Didache-The, the Byzantine church engaged in horrific violence, and so did the Catholics, against Jews and any dissent.